Everybody hates Malika Andrews. Over the past couple of years, no NBA analyst has experienced a roller coaster of public perception quite like Malika Andrews. Initially, she was widely celebrated as ESPN's fresh new face, bringing a polished and professional presence to the network. However, as time passed, the positive perception has crumbled, with more people questioning her motives and approach. Her recent controversial appearance on DeMar DeRozan's mental health series has only fueled the backlash, painting a clearer picture for critics. To many, Malika now seems like a classic case of a wolf in sheep's clothing, presenting one image to the public while her actions tell a very different story.
And it is hurtful. I think that's okay to say sometimes. Yeah. It hurts. Yeah. Even it doesn't matter if it is someone who is credible or someone with a big platform, or if it's someone in their mom's basement just firing off a post.
Malika's career seemed to begin with controversy and may end up ending in the same boat. After the controversial release of Rachel Nichols from ESPN, after claiming that the program's promotion of Maria Taylor was more based on improving their track record of poor diversity than her on-screen talents.
HR did a full investigation into it. They told me that I had done nothing wrong that required any kind of discipline. Then 6 months later, they actually gave me a contract extension and a raise. And they actually elevated Maria in that same period as well. So I thought we had put things behind us. And unfortunately, I think there were still some people who had bad feelings, and they held on to this tape for a year, just kept it in their pocket. And then when there was a point they wanted some leverage with their own situations, they fed it to the press.
After the release of the recording that the network was sitting on was released, it led to the immediate release of Nichols, and made way for Malika Andrews to take place as the sideline reporter for the NBA Finals. Now, at this time, negativity was certainly spread towards Rachel's and ESPN for the controversy and their respective reactions to the recording. But as far as Malika's end, the response seemed to be nothing but positive. I'm sure she worked very hard to get where she is, and when it comes to her on-camera presence, that's not exactly the problem. Malika's generally a pretty good interviewer, and often serves as an addition to the segment more so than other hated members of the ESPN cast, until a peculiar pattern of behavior tipped off after the firing of Ime Udoka. See, as you may or may not remember, following sexual relations with a lower-ranking member of the organization, Malika said the following when speaking to Stephen A. on the situation in regards to the women's identity being revealed and a potential punishment from the organization.
The fact that we are sitting here debating whether somebody else should have been suspended or not, we are not here, Stephen A., to further blame women. That is not why we are here.
Now, this on the surface wasn't the craziest thing in the world. People criticized Malika's take, covering the back of the anonymous woman while it takes two to tango, which is a bit weird. But taking into account that the internet was posting pictures of all the female members of the Celtics organization like a creepy game of Guess Who, her main point to leave them alone was pretty valid. But where she began to lose us was with her comments on interim coach Joe Mazzulla.
Last 3 seasons after spending the previous 3 seasons at Fairmount State. And he played for West Virginia between 2006 and 2011, and now could become the NBA's youngest head coach at 34 years old. And we'd be remiss not to also mention that Mazzulla was arrested twice at West Virginia, once in 2008 for underage drinking and aggravated assault. He pled guilty, paid a fine, and then again in 2009 for domestic battery after an incident at Morgantown Bar. The domestic battery case never went to trial. It was settled in August of 2009. He paid a $100 fine and court costs, plus had to do 40 hours of community service. Now, that was 13 years ago. He settled and paid both fines. So, Woj, why are the Celtics choosing him as their next head coach?
I mean, no, you wouldn't be remiss if you didn't mention that. Joe Mazzulla got drunk and fought a guy as a teenager over 13 years ago, and the charges were dropped. Since then, he's gave his life to Christ and focused on his career. He was selected as the head coach because he's earned the position, now platforming charges that didn't go to court, and bringing up a drunken college bar fight as soon as a grown man basically lands his dream job to insinuate that he's some violent violent asswipe is completely out of pocket. He got the job because they believed he was the best option available. I don't even know what she's questioning here. I mean, if I was on some Kenny Beecham shit and you guys saw me get on ESPN and then all of a sudden one of you guys bring up my underage drinking tickets in college to make me look like a booze bag, I'm gonna be pissed at you guys. Now, the Missoula hiring wasn't the only time Malika was mad out of pocket, and honestly, it wasn't even the worst of it, as after the tragic passing of Adrian Payne, Malika made it her obligation to bring up more unproven allegations at literally the worst time possible.
Shifting gears, former Michigan State star Adrian Payne was shot and killed in Orlando, Florida, early Monday morning, the Orange County Sheriff's Office said. And Payne was the 15th pick by the Atlanta Hawks in 2014, played 4 seasons in the NBA with multiple teams. In 2018, he was waived by the Magic after he was named in a report by ESPN's Outside the Lines that he'd been involved in an alleged sexual assault at Michigan State in 2010. No charges were filed in that case. Prior to playing in the NBA, Payne was a member of the All Big Ten second team in 2 of his 4 seasons with Michigan State.
Now, bringing up allegations for charges that were never even filed is incredibly nasty work, and the comments on ESPN's own video will tell you that. No charges were filed, which means no conviction, and yet, yes, let's smear the image while reporting his death. Disgusting. Shame on Malika for reporting his death this way. I don't care what the producers had written for her, she should have declined. Even in his death, y'all still bring up some negative shit about him. Very unnecessary to bring up something that he wasn't even charged with. Very unprofessional. Now, this ticked people off big time. People were starting petitions to bring back Rachel Nichols, and honestly, this mess up was absolutely terrible. Again, bringing up unproven allegations instead of bringing up the fact that he was murdered while attempting to prevent a domestic dispute is wild. I mean, this guy died. In the 1 minute of screen time he gets, they have Malika out there basically giving the idea that this guy is among the worst group of people on the planet. I get that they disclose that no charges were filed, but shit like this is how allegations continue to destroy young men's life time after time after time. Now, Malika continued her antics, in which it may have reached a tipping point in the 2023 draft, after Brandon Miller was selected 2nd overall.
His name did surface in court testimony involving a case where his former teammate and another man, they've been indicted for capital murder in the fatal shooting of 23-year-old Jamia Harris in January. The University of Alabama has described Miller as a cooperating witness. How is this factoring, if at all, into how teams are evaluating him?
Yeah, Malika, part of the...
I don't think it would be brought up at all if it wasn't for Malika just bringing it up on national television right now.
Now, Mike's onto something here. Of course, these allegations are damning, but again, Miller was not charged with any crime. Andrews' decision to highlight this during his draft moment drew criticism for being inappropriate. Critics felt it overshadowed a significant milestone in Miller's life. I mean, you can only get drafted once, and this is the pinnacle of success in the sport. I mean, fans obviously recognize the pattern and criticize Malika for routinely targeting black men in particular when covering non-sports related, unsubstantiated allegations when 1, not exactly appropriate, and 2, not backed by any evidence. I mean, bringing them up at all can be taken as a total attack at their character publicly. Even Des Bryant called her out regarding her coverage of black athletes' dirty laundry, but then stayed quiet when the Giddey situation unfolded. Now, I'm not gonna lie, her criticisms for not covering Josh Giddey were a little unjust. I mean, I doubt ESPN is consulting her on whether it's okay to cover stories on white guys because she has a white husband or something. Upon eventually covering the story, fans were quick to point out how unhappy she looks doing it, but I mean, she's covering a pretty grim topic for a sports broadcaster. I mean, if she was up there cheesing ear to ear talking about something like that, I'd kind of want the FBI at her door. Now, certainly, you could argue how much of this hate is targeted at the right person, but honestly, it seems that she poked the bear and backed off when it got mad. Now, when it comes to her intentions, it's certainly questionable. On one hand, she's doing her job, but on the other hand, other people have the same job, and you don't see them spitting slander, so like, what the hell, bro? Now, when you get to what she did to Jalen Rose, this shit gets hard to deny.
Get your finger out of my armpit. We're just happy to see Jalen Rose welcoming in the man with the best hair in television.
I don't know why her armpit's on the top of her arm, but she's got to get that checked out. She hit my boy Jalen Rose with a Me Too on live TV like he was trying to cop a feel on TV. Like, this shit's crazy, bro. I mean, how are you even supposed to defend this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 fingers on her shoulder. Why the hell are you making this up about a coworker? Now, Jalen Rose would be fired after this incident, while Malika would not be fired, but as Jalen confirmed, this was just a layoff for a company that's burning too much money since no one really watches TV anymore. But nonetheless, it's hard to really figure out what her intentions here were. I mean, Malika's track record in like 2.5 years on TV is literally insane, but to tie this back up to her latest comments, Malika said the following regarding the reaction to her antics.
And that's been the hardest part for me sometimes is stomaching the falsehoods, particularly, this you hate black men, or think that couldn't be farther from the truth, and using my family or the way that my family looks as some sort of evidence of that. And that is just untrue.
For sure.
And is just unkind.
Okay, now if you're hitting the keyboard, roasting her family or something like that, like, alright, chill out. And calling for a firing or something is OD, we don't really gotta do all that. But be pulling the unkind card here is absolutely wild. My boy Joe got hired by the Celtics. All dude wants to do is just pray and coach basketball, and you're talking about shit he did in college, and half of it has no proof. I mean, that shit's pretty mean. Like, why are you doing Joe like that? Adrian Payne literally got shot and died, and you're still talking about unsubstantiated allegations while dudes are scheduling his funeral. Brandon Miller got drafted in the NBA. His life's dream is complete. And again, allegations, Malika. Allegations. Dude, Kobe gave this dude, Jalen, 81 points on his head. He's had enough trauma. You did not have to do him like that. He had his hand on your shoulder. Now, I'm sure Malika's gotten roasted to shit on her timeline, and any actual threats or anything crazy like that, obviously I would never condone. I mean, I wouldn't even condone her losing a job or anything, but to clearly slip up in the way that you did and to pull the meanies card is actually crazy work. I mean, slandering the dogs was pretty mean too. For Malika, I don't even hate her as an analyst. I've watched a bunch of her interviews, and honestly, she adds to the network. I get if she wants to stick up for the girls or some shit in her commentary. I mean, you do you, I guess, but when in the meantime you're dragging someone down with unsubstantiated claims, at least stay in the pocket and take the criticisms. Thank you guys for watching. We made it this far. I'll see you boys in the next one. Peace out.